Very interesting topic, caste. In fact, I was curious, so I started doing research of caste in India, and some of the oldest scriptures that I read as a child um, were Ramayana and Mahabharata, and all the characters, Ram, Krishna, nobody had a caste. In fact, if you see Ravan, one of the villain characters in Ramayana, was a Brahmin. Very learned person, he used to Shiva Bhakt. But the differentiation during those days was good and bad, right? And then I realized, okay, this is India. Okay, let me look at what was the caste situation in other part of the world. So if you look at US, I mean, before Europeans went into America, they were Red Indians, Native Americans, right? And when the Europeans landed, they had a clash and they finished that whole tribe itself. So if you see America is one of the largest countries, there are hardly any races. I mean, what is race in America is caste in India. They have like British, Germans, Irish, African, British, but more or less they're all white Christians, right? Now, in terms of the segregation, I have lived in a very little city in Greenwell, right? And people were segregated at the church level. I mean, the church A versus church B, the people will not go from, if they're associated with church A, they will only go to that place. They have their own set of rules and regulations, So there is segregation in almost every society. I mean, if you see Australia, they were Aborigines, and when Europeans went in there, they almost finished Aborigines in no time. So, I mean, if you see history, there were stronger tribes, weaker tribes. There is always a pyramid of tribes, right? And whoever the stronger tribes, over a period of time, the weaker tribes disappeared and the stronger tribes claimed that land, right? Now, if you look at India in a bigger scheme of things, in spite of all the fault lines, right? We have about 5,000 clans, tribes, races, whatever you call, castes, right? The good news is our ancestors agreed to coexist, and we also in the 21st century have agreed to coexist in spite of all the differences, right? Means what? As a culture, we believe in coexistence, survival, adjustment, all those kind of things. When I was in engineering college, there were castes, and beyond castes, there was segregation at a city level. Like, okay, there was a Jaipur association, Ajmer association, Jodhpur association. There was some sort of discrimination, right? I have grown up in a Jat, Rajput kind of mohallas. They're pretty muscular people, and I've also faced some sort of discrimination. But sometimes you have to navigate, deflect, and use your own strength to survive. I mean, I can't crib and complain all the time. For the fact that in fact, I don't know if you know, India is the only country with so much of diversity. I mean, we're the only country where we have all the sects of Islam. In fact, the Saudi Arabia, the main Islamic nation, doesn't have all those sects of Islam that we have. We have all the sects of Jews, we have Buddhists, we have Parsis, you name it. I mean, the amount of diversity that we as a society have agreed in this piece of land is enormous. I mean, you wouldn't find in anywhere in the world. I've been to Arunachal, and in fact, I was surprised when I went there. Every village has a different language. There are different tribe culturally. And I asked them, how do you communicate with each other? Every village has a different language. They're saying we use Hindi as a connecting language. So the bottom line is we are all a little bit different, I understand. But we are all bound with a common cultural thread. I mean, we have named it as Hindu, but there are some basic principles like love, compassion, care for each other. I mean, all the big mantras, if you see, it's Vasudev Kutumbam. The whole world is my family, right? Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sabhi sukhi ho. Sarve bhavantu niramaya, sarve bhadrani. I mean, all those, if you see at a very macro level, we have been a reasonably good society. I mean, there are fault lines, yes. With time, they will improve. Some of those things, some of those bad things would have probably come because of the 1,000 years of the slavery that we have gone through. In fact, slowly it'll go away. Actually, the bigger challenge than the caste discrimination is, I think, lately is the reservation. It's again a very touchy and sensitive topic, and I'll tell you why. Because this whole started with basically giving some affirmative action for the really backward people. But now if you see today, in every caste in the reservation category, there is a elite section within that caste, and those are the people who are constantly benefiting from all those affirmative actions which were actually meant for the real backward. I mean, for a backward category there is no caste. I mean, I have seen people, Brahmins, Rajputs, Marwadis, the so-called general category, in a very, very bad shape, so-called. But historically they were a privileged clan, so the society, for whatever reason, is they are not getting any benefit. And the people who are getting benefit because of their caste tag are actually not the real underprivileged nowadays. And actually, if you see in the villages, slowly this whole temple thing is all going away. I mean, if you don't let me in your temple, I will construct my own temple. What's the big deal? I mean, if you don't marry your daughter, my son, I will also not do. I mean, if Mukesh Ambani chooses not to invite me to his daughter's marriage, I will also not invite him to my son's marriage. I won't really make a big fuss about it. I mean, even technically speaking, if you take away the caste, let's say, think of a society or a city where there is only one caste, I can tell you it's a matter of time. We are little crazy human beings. Will create something else. Probably doctors would marry doctors, engineers would marry engineers, the singers would marry singers. We'll create some human attribute equivalent of caste. I won't really make a big fuss. I mean, if you don't want to marry your daughter to my son, I can understand. I mean, this is a very personal transaction. I mean, there has to be some match in food habits, what you do at home, the cultural background. If there is a similarity, yes, let it happen. If it doesn't happen, I'll not make a big fuss. Slowly it'll go away. But lately, I think in villages I'm seeing it's going away. It's more of an urban phenomenon lately, because some of the people who have benefited from this reservation, the caste-based reservation, they have become more vocal, because they are a little fearful that if we take away the caste tag, then some of the benefits they have gotten so far would go away. In fact, those benefits, those affirmative actions were meant for the actually downtrodden people, and it's not going to them anymore. The real caste is actually poverty, in fact. The caste that we started with is no more a caste. It has become a political tool. And more we start using governments, the laws, regulations to say, oh, we'll take away this caste discrimination by bringing laws, is only going to make things worse. I mean, no matter what you do, I mean, governments, you can try, the caste identity and the segregation will become even more. This is a very, very personal. The society has to reform within itself. I mean, when we grow our kids, we want to make sure that we bury this caste identity and they become on a personal level, or a transaction level, one-on-one level, we must ensure that we respect every fellow human being, no matter what economic status he is or caste status. In fact, I remember there were two very close friends, more or less from the same economic background. They played together all their life. They grew together all their life. And actually, at some point in time in their adulthood, they applied for a job in a college for a teacher, assistant lecturer or something of that sort. One of the guy got a job because of his caste category, the reservation category status, and the other guy, in spite of getting more marks, he couldn't. Can you believe the guys were so close friends? The gap, little bit distance cropped up. Because sometimes when a person tries to benefit from a caste tag, then he might be benefited economically wise, but respect recognition thoda compromise ho jata, because there's something unjust, right? So one has to make sure that the people who are really deserving affirmative action, they only get it. And unless we don't change this, it will become tricky. But all said and done, I'm saying India is a pretty reasonable society if you compare with any society in the world. For the fact that we have 5,000 tribes, clans, caste, races in India, we are a pretty tolerant and role model society in front of the world.